Battle through the heavens. Grand world. Chapter 284 Weakness. Rumble. In this world, the origin monic key crazily surged. They rubbed against the space, causing it to continuously explode. A roar that caused one's scalp to go numb burst forth. Hundreds of inner court students gathered together, staring with their mouths agape at the scene in front of them. Under the feet of the heavenly peak, a huge white tiger that could be seen with the naked eye was crazily neighing. Within its body, a snake-shaped spear that was several feet long rushed into it with an unstoppable momentum. It was aimed directly at Xiaoyan, who was inside the white tiger's body. Halfway through, the origin monic key within the white tiger's body filled the air and tightly wrapped around the snake-shaped spear. It corroded the power of the spear. Bai Yongzhao's expression was solemn. There was also a trace of shock in his deep eye sockets. Xiaoyan's strength was merely at the 8 monic spirit, but he actually possessed the strength to fight against him. Let's try this. Bai Yongzhao coldly snorted. His strength was naturally not limited to this level since he was able to become one of the top 10 experts in the Inner Academy's Soaring Dragon ranking. Although he had exhausted a lot of the origin monic key in his body when he fought a low-tier heavenly beast in the desert, he still had a great confidence in defeating Xiaoyan, who was merely at the 8 monic spirit. Xiaoyan, admit defeat. If you are unable to withstand my next attack. But you will die. It is not easy for the Academy to produce a Saint rank trial participant. You are still too weak right now. Bai Yongzhao took a deep breath and stared at Xiaoyan. He said with a cold expression. Although Xiaoyan easily blocked the snake-shaped spear, it was too difficult for Xiaoyan to defend against the next attack. Hearing Bai Yongzhao's words, Lu Xiangyang's eyes sparkled. Then, as if he had thought of something, he looked at Xiaoyan with a smile that was not a smile, although it was his first time seeing Xiaoyan. However, Lu Xiangyang could tell that this Saint rank trial participant called Xiaoyan wouldn't surrender so obediently. Then I would like to give it a try. Xiaoyan did not hesitate when he heard this. He smiled faintly and then shouted. The origin monic key around his body was crazily coiling around his body. He forcefully shot out the snake-shaped spear. If one looked closely, there were some undetectable cracks on the spear's body. Bai Yongzhao didn't hesitate when he heard that. He suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed the snake-shaped spear. He firmly fixed the snake-shaped spear in the air. 6 shattering heavens spear. Bai Yongzhao coldly cried out. Both of his hands instantly turned crystal clear and white. Quite a number of people with keen senses among the crowd could sense an invisible force surging out from Bai Yongzhao's palms and pouring into the snake-shaped spear in the air. Swoosh! In the next moment, the snake-shaped spear, which had stopped in mid-air, suddenly shook. The origin monic key on the spear circulated. In the blink of an eye, 5 identical spears were formed. 6 snake-shaped long spears. The spears were all flickering with a sharp luster. As the luster flickered, space itself began to buzz. The powerful force caused the expressions of many sharp-eyed students to change drastically. The 6 sky-splitting spear, which is comparable to a low-level monic arts, is one of Bai Yongzhao's ultimate skills. When he used this technique back then, he killed a low-level heavenly beast. He actually used this technique to deal with Xiaoyan. Is this guy crazy? If something were to happen to the Saint rank trial participant, wouldn't the elders skin him alive? Unlike the other students' exclamations, Lu Xiangyang and Yi Yi remained silent. They could naturally sense it. The power of Bai Yongzhao's attack was only half of its power when it was at its peak. Even if it hit Xiaoyan, it probably wouldn't cause any fatal damage. This guy is confident in defeating the Saint rank trial participant with less than half of his strength. Lu Xiangyang narrowed his eyes and stared at Bai Yongzhao, who was standing not far away with a solemn expression. No one knew what he was thinking. Xiaoyan raised his head and looked. The sunlight passed through the layers of clouds and reflected on the long spear. It was shining with a soul-stirring luster. Under careful observation, he could feel a slight chill from the 6 long spears. It is indeed powerful. Xiaoyan was expressionless. He stretched out his hand from the white tiger and suddenly took a step forward. The ki of his entire body was condensed, giving everyone the feeling that he had turned the sharp ki of a sword into a heavy ki of defense. Facing Bai Yongzhao's attack, Xiaoyan didn't use the monic flame. He didn't take out the blue flame ruler either. These two trump cards. It wasn't time to expose them yet. Furthermore, Xiaoyan had a vague feeling that Bai Yongzhao's strength. It wasn't just the current situation. He had also felt the monic skill, which was comparable to a low-grade monic arts. However, the power contained in Bai Yongzhao's attack was far inferior. Swoosh! Bai Yongzhao's face was expressionless. He suddenly pushed both of his hands forward. In an instant, the origin monic ki in this space seemed to have been disturbed. The 6 snake-shaped spears seemed to have transformed into 6 huge pythons. As their snake bodies swayed, they had already rushed over like lightning. A threatening aura surged over in all directions, causing the air around Xiaoyan to freeze. Xiaoyan's feet stepped on the ground. His body was like a huge rock that had stood tall for countless years. Under the pressure of this ki, he remained motionless. This level of ki had no effect on Xiaoyan at all. Buzz! 6 long spears buzzed and rushed over from all directions. The tip of the spears was shining with a dazzling light. Xiaoyan stood still, and he even felt a slight pain on his skin. Boom! Xiaoyan suddenly moved. He threw out both of his fists. With the Sky Spill fist in his left hand and the Heaven's Top fist in his right hand, the Raging Origin Monic Ki was like a sharp sword. It carried a frightening momentum as it forcefully struck towards the 6 long spears. As one of the 4 quarters of the fist that could rival the holy arts, although the Sky Spill fist and the Heaven's Top fist were only at the beginner level of the Monic spell, their power was not to be underestimated. Under Xiaoyan's control, the power of the Sky Spill fist and the Heaven's Top fist had far exceeded that of the beginner level of the Monic spell. Boom! 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 Both of his fists were thrown out 3 times in a row. After 6 punches, Xiaoyan's chest suddenly felt stuffy, and he couldn't help but take a few steps back. Every step he took left a deep footprint on the hard ground. When he took the 6th step, Xiaoyan finally stopped. Both of his fists were covered with blood. The space between his thumb and index finger was cracked, and he was trembling slightly. Xiaoyan raised his head and looked over. The corner of his mouth slowly curled up. The pain on both of his fists caused him to feel a little pain. At this moment, it was nothing. Sure enough, just by relying on his physical strength, he was able to crack Bai Yongzhao's attack. In the air, the 6 snake-shaped spears did not move forward no matter how Bai Yongzhao urged them. Some of the sharp-eyed students looked over and were shocked to discover that densely packed cracks had actually appeared on the 6 spears. Crack! Following a soft sound, the 6 snake-shaped spears instantly shattered and turned into origin monic ki that scattered in the air. It's shattered. Just relying on the strength of my physical body. It is indeed worthy of being called a saint-rank trial participant. The strength of the surrounding people was quite extraordinary. The trace of contempt that was born from Xiaoyan's retreat had vanished at this moment. To be able to shatter Bai Yongzhao's ultimate move with his physical strength, this kind of strength was enough to bear the name of the saint-rank trial participant. Behind Xiaoyan, Zuna and Kai Lin's hearts were also filled with excitement. They could naturally sense how powerful Bai Yongzhao's attack was just now. Xiaoyan shattering it also caused the anxious hearts of the 2 girls to calm down. Although Bai Yongzhao had used up more than half of his origin monic ki, this attack will definitely cause serious injuries to even a true emperor. This Xiaoyan actually managed to block it. However, if this is true strength, then it is really too weak. Lu Xiangyang crossed his arms and stood there without saying a word. A trace of excitement suddenly emerged in his eyes. With the current strength that Xiaoyan had displayed, he wanted to defeat him. However, it was fine here. After all, the competition would only attract the attention of the entire inner courtyard a month later. Even the experts of Realm in Valley would appear. Defeating the saint-rank trial participant in such an occasion, that sense of accomplishment. That was the deepest part. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.